Hey, what's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Seattle Mariners franchise mode series right here on MLB The Show 19. In this episode, we are more than likely going to tear things down as originally planned. Now, there is the slight possibility that if we go on a little bit of a run here over the next month, that maybe we try to have a little bit of fun and try to end the playoff drought. We are currently 3 games over 500, so anything's possible. 6 games back of the Astros, but only 3.5 back in the wild card, despite being the 23rd ranked team. That said, I think we all know how we expect this to go. We're probably going to fall off and end up blowing this team up just a little bit, because again, as we've talked about, while there are some good pieces here, so many members of the core are getting up there in age, and it's just not likely to happen. Edwin Encarnacion has been our best player this season. He's 36 years old. Let's be honest. We can't rely on him over the next year or two to try and help get this team to a World Series. D. Gordon's 30, Seager's 31, Leake's 31, Felix Hernandez is 32, and oftentimes it's not a good sign, for the most part, to be like, oh, hey, look, there's a 78, as compared to, Cleveland, where the lowest guy on the list, there's an 80, and granted, it's Mike Clevenger, and he's in single A, and that's really weird, but I imagine it's because the team's 40-mans are pretty much locked. The Yankees, Severino's an 83, the Red Sox, lowest guy is an 80, even the Giants, the lowest guy is an 80. I think you get the point in terms of this roster just isn't really up to snuff, but at the very least, we're going to see how this goes down and make the most of it. Now, we are off the back of a relatively successful draft. Again, we ended up going with pretty much all pitching, which was not the plan whatsoever. Not that we had a set plan heading into the draft in terms of who we were targeting. It was just get the best players that we possibly could. And for the most part, again, with the top 4 of Nakayama, Rodriguez, Wilkerson, and Cairo, I feel like we did relatively well, and at the very least, look at Cairo's mutton chops. That said, of course, some other teams had some relatively good success. The Giants ended up with an ungodly prospect. Now, of course, the soonest I could trade for some of these guys will be next year. Hey, maybe we'll have the assets to be able to get a John Patton. I highly doubt it, but you never quite know. So that said, again, with this roster pretty much being locked because of the 40-man and us not exactly having that much maneuverability, we've left it up to the AI to decide rotations and lineups, and I think I'm going to have that continue to be the case up until the All-Star break, because that'll be the deciding point where we look to move on from certain players, of course. So we're pretty much good to go. Let the AAA ball club do what they're doing. Ichiro's a fucking 64, so he's going to retire at the end of this year. And at the very least, if we do move on from certain players in the 40-man, we end up getting some open spots. Maybe we'll have the ability. In fairness, we do have 1 spot on the 40-man. But maybe after the break and once we make some changes, we'll have the ability to bring on some people, right? Because right now, 99% sure, at the very least in terms of signing free agents, that we talked about this, before, 99% sure that we're going to trade some people and then raid the free agent list. It's probably just how it's going to go down. So, with that said, let's see how we do over the next few weeks, and we'll make the most of it. Funny enough, we beat Houston, which is goddamn hilarious, and I really do need to just turn the injuries back to a manual setting, or an auto setting, I should say. Art Warren, fractured hand. That's fun. Edwin Encarnacion breaks his hand. Oh, no. Well, despite the fact that we're now 5 games over 500, let's be honest here, we're pretty boned. We are pretty boned. So again, all of that is set. I'm going to turn injury management onto auto because I'm not all that concerned. Of course, everything else will be on manual. And of course, control over roster moves, lineup, and rotations. We'll change that to manual once we actually have a little bit more control over the roster. That said, without Mr. Encarnacion, Ichiro has been called up, which is hilarious. Daniel Vogelbach is our starting first baseman, and that's where you want your starting first baseman, in the 8th spot in the lineup, or the 9th if we run with the DH. Ooh, that is That is pretty bad. So to take a look here, so yeah, we ended up adding Ichiro to the 40-man and calling him up. You know what? I don't disagree with it. Auto GM, AI GM, I don't disagree with it. Good call. The losses start rolling in, but not really anything too crazy. We'll continue on with the sim here. Still 2 games over 500 as we head into the month of July. And you know what? Let's go ahead. Didn't want to do that. Let's sim to July 1st and see where we stand. And the answer is at 500. 44 and 44 on the year. Now 10.5 games back of Houston. Only 4.5 out of the wild card. However, are we likely to beat Cleveland? No. Are we likely to beat Tampa? No. Boston? No. The Royals, maybe. The Angels are right there still. I mean, case in point, right now, we're the type of team where if we make the playoffs, we're going to get smacked no matter how many players we add to this team, right? We pretty much know what our fate is. So it's better to just bite the bullet, miss the playoffs yet again, and blow this team up just a little bit. We do win that series against St. Louis. In the Futures game, we do have a player available, but I'm all right with skipping that. And we end up winning that series against Oakland as well. Now, I do want to take a look at who's in the home run derby. Gallo, Escobar, Hoskins, Cabrera, Votto, Machado, Martinez, and Andujar. Neat. As far as the All-Star game is concerned, of course, we will have at least one rep. Let's take a look at who happened to be selected for us. So it is going to be, is it just me, or are there 17,000 more menus to take a look here? As far as the AL is concerned, and of course you can kind of get a look at the NL, I can take a full look if we need to. But as far as who we have, it's gonna be a position player. They're not in the starting lineup, which is not surprising at all. Please tell me it was Ichiro for the hell of it. Rowdy Tellez ended up making the All-Star game. Damn. There you go. And to the point, right? I was saying in the last episode how I view 75 overall guys as kind of the cutoff. For me personally, to have someone be relatively successful. Yes, you can see a 73 overall player like Rowdy, end up making the All-Star game, and that's fine. But you look at the attributes, it's a little bit more RNG than anything else, right? I'm not saying that 73 overall players can't be useful, or that guys who are going to take, until the fucking end of their 20s to develop, that can't happen. I'm just saying it's not likely. It's not something that you want to bet on. Who the hell made the frickin' All-Star game for us? What? Who am I missing? Someone made the All-Star game for us, and I have no idea who the hell it was. Am I missing somebody up? Was it a pitcher? Did I just outright... It was Marco. I didn't even notice him. All right, Marco Gonzalez ended up making it, which is not shocking. I'm shocked, though, with a 2.12 ERA that he's not the starter. Kluber's at a 2.1. Okay, well, that makes sense. Verlander at a 3.09. Well, Marco, congratulations, though. Hopefully you fetch us a decent bounty, because you're probably gone. Let's take a look at least at how the team has done. So Kikuchi at a 4.4, and in fairness, we'll actually take a look at the league leaders at this point, just so you guys can get an idea of how they stack up. But batting average-wise, obviously anything over a 3 is pretty damn good. And Jose Ramirez is on a whole different level at this point. We'll take a look at home runs. Joey Gallo leading the way with 26. We have nobody up there, unfortunately. RBI leader is Castellanos at 77. Again, anything over a 50 at this point in the season is pretty damn good. D. Gordon, though, still leading the league, or at least the AL. Starling Marte hasn't beat over in the NL, but leading the AL in terms of stolen bases. On base percentage, as per usual, the closer to 400 you get, the better it is. And you know what? I did discredit Omar Narvaez, saying that we were not going to win a World Series with him a catcher. 401 on base. Who am I to doubt Omar Narvaez or El Dandy? Jesus. Slugging percentage, Mike Trout is just... Jesus Christ. That is absolutely outrageous. Wins leader right now is Corey Kluber with 15. Saves leader, Taylor Rogers in Minnesota. For ERA, it's Kluber and Gonzalez. So again, the closer to a 3.0 you are, the better. If you're over a 2, you're outrageous. And Wade LeBlanc and Marco Gonzalez have been outstanding this season. Absolutely outstanding. And again, for a whip, closer to a 1, the better. And again, Corey Kluber. Granted, he's a starter, but still just so stupidly good. So as we take a look at our team, which again, I kind of want to keep together just for the challenge of it, but it's not a smart idea. Kikuchi has been meh. Let's go with meh. Marco has been absolutely outstanding. Mike Leake has been meh. Hernandez, I mean, hey, say what you want about King Felix at this point, 32 years old. He's been pretty damn good this year. And then Wade LeBlanc has been outstanding. You have Elias there as our long reliever at this point, and he's been pretty much tremendous. Swarzak has not been good at all. Altavia has been, yeah, it's the best way to describe it. Bradford's been pretty damn good. I'll give him credit. Bradford's been pretty damn good. What even is that name, Corey? What even is it? Would it be Guerin, I guess? Regardless, you've been abysmal. Oh, Sam. We're just going to call you Sam. You've been okay. And Brennan has been pretty damn good, the 27-year-old rookie. Not too shabby. As far as the lineup is concerned, D. Gordon, 240 average. What's your on base at this point? 296. Could be better, but still pretty damn good. Smith, 259. Again, not that bad. 321 on base. I'm okay with that, all things considered. Mitch, 15 home runs, 45 RBIs, 257 average. You have Domingo Santana hitting 244. It's not too bad. And he's an 84 overall as well. Someone who we could definitely look to keep around. Ryan Healy doing very well, all things considered. Not too bad. And of course, we know that Omar has been doing pretty damn well. Seager has been a DH, 238, 10 homers, 29 RBIs. Tim Beckham still hovering around a 300, which is outrageous. And Vogelbach has been absolutely terrible. Dylan Moore has done pretty well with just 130 at-bats. Ichiro's been tremendous since getting the call-up. Ah, what a guy. Jay Bruce, I mean, again, if he hits the ball, it goes far, but that's about it. And then Tom Murphy actually hasn't been that bad at the plate as our backup catcher. And, of course, we're currently dealing with injuries to the likes of Evan White, but the main guy, Edwin Encarnacion. Overall, 17 home runs, 43 RBIs, a 307 average. Pretty damn good. He'll be healthy in 1 to 2 weeks. So the big question, 2 games over 500. Is there any possible way for us to try and add, as misguided as that would be, is there any way to add to try and somehow push this team into the playoffs in year 1 just for the sake of breaking the streak? It might not be the worst idea in the world. Now, Daniel Vogelbach, I would love to get rid of. Evan White's an interesting one where there could be late development for him, but he's the type of guy where it's like, okay, you're obviously not anywhere close to being a legitimate B potential guy. In terms of who else we could move, though, we are so limited. Dylan Moore is definitely someone we could move on from. I mean, you compare him outright to Ryan Healy, that could work. And even moving on from Shed Long might not be the worst idea. So say we were to use these 3, and we were to go after someone who's MLB ready, what would we be looking at? We would be looking at being able to add Michael Givens and Tanner Scott to the bullpen. Jonathan Villar, you say? Right. Now, in fairness, for what we need, I mean, you could argue Narvaez's a catcher. I mean, he's not ideal, but he's done all right. It's not a smart move at all to add to this team. We'd probably want a better shortstop than Tim Beckham, but again, he's batting .296, so who's to say that we need a better shortstop than Tim Beckham? The outfield has been pretty damn good. The starting rotation, there's nobody who's been abysmal, and we have an all-star in Marco Gonzalez. the bullpen could use a bit of a bump up. It's just not a smart move by any stretch of the imagination to not immediately sell with this team. But part of me, just for the sake of being stubborn, wants to add to this team to try and make the playoffs, as dumb as that would be. Now, I will take a look here. The Red Sox offering Scooter Gennett, which would be interesting. I mean, granted, he wouldn't be that much better than a D. Gordon, of course. Luke Voigt and Jonathan Holder. That's a very interesting deal. Chad Green, Adam Ottavino, of course, is 33 years old. Chirinos, Evisel Garcia and Stanek. Teoscar Hernandez. 3 bunch of nothings for an A potential guy. He might be 26, but oh God, it's so tempting. It's so tempting to buy. We could pick up Brad goddamn Hand. I know he's making $6.7 million, but with the bullpen right now being a pretty big factor in some struggles, it's a pretty big negative for the team. The fact that we could acquire Brad Hand is absolutely hilarious to me. Do we go for the memes and try to make it, knowing that heading into the offseason, we could still blow it up and start the rebuild? Do we go for the memes and try... Here, you know what? Let's sim a little bit further just before... Like right here, the 29th. Let's see how we're doing by that point, and we'll take it from there. Because I can't help it. As we ended up losing Batista off of waivers. Now, I'm pretty sure that's nobody that I'm overly going to be concerned about, but obviously still that's the one side effect. I said earlier I would have liked to have thought that the game would be smart enough to not lose anybody for me. I was incorrect. Let's hope that it's not anybody overly ridiculous. Okay, yeah, I don't think I'm going to care. I think we're going to survive. I think we'll be okay. Call it a hunch. I think we'll be okay. Good job, AIGM. You at least got somebody off the roster. We play Anaheim. I refuse to call them Los Angeles. We lose that series. We split 2 games against Oakland. We have 3 more games against the Angels. We lose that series. 3 games against Texas, who are just under 500 as the Cards offer a trade. They want Mitch Haniger. Absolutely not, because if I want to get rid of Mitch Haniger, I'll do it on my own. We lose that series against Texas. We're now 1 game under. This 4-game series against Detroit is going to be a pretty big deciding factor. We are selling. No doubt about it. Now 3 games under 500. 16 games back of the Astros. 7 games out of the wild card. Let's blow this baby up. It is time to move on. And of course, I don't care about signing those 2 guys. Let's do this. It is time to move on. Although I do wonder, have any other trades gone down around the league? Indeed, they have. Willie Calhoun to the Yankees. All right, Jose Arena to the Rays. Any like big time names on the move? Not necessarily. No, not John Jay. How could you trade John Jay? Justin Smoke to the Phillies. Marcus Stroman ended up going to Cleveland. So the Blue Jays are making moves. And aside from that, I mean, there are some familiar names, obviously, on the move. I was just wondering if there were any like big-time names on the move. No superstars on the move, at the very least. So, now that we know we're blowing this bad boy up, let's get down to business, shall we? So, I admittedly wasn't going to trade Narvaez. However, with him doing relatively well this season, he's 27. I'm just tempted to see what we could get for him, even if it was just a one-player option. We were looking at Paul Fry. I prefer one-player back deals because you get a little bit more back. Antonio Cabello could work out. 18 years old, B potential, 60 overall. Okay, so, and Sanchez as well. So yeah, Narvaez has a little bit of value to him. So if we pair him with somebody else, we're going to be looking pretty good. Now, you could argue, all right, are we going to be competitive in 5 years? Maybe. Is Narvaez going to be the guy for us at that point? I don't know, right? I mean, he's decent at the plate. The fielding, the arm leaves a bit to be desired. I think we sell a little bit high on him. The best way to do that, of course, I want to try and pair him with certain prospects who we kind of know aren't going to make it. So the big question is between Dylan Moore and Ryan Healy. I think we keep one, and I'm not sure who that's going to be. Shed Long is one where we could certainly move on from him. There is the argument that within 5 years he'll be decent. That would certainly be the hope. J.P. Crawford is definitely the type of guy to sell, though. Definitely. I mean, say what you want. By the time he's 29, he might be half decent. I'd rather get something for him now and have a little bit more of a safe bet. And Bishop. We'll also pair him into this deal for obvious reasons. Again, I prefer more sure things as opposed to, well, by the time he's 30, he might be decent. I like safer bets. So let's see what we can get here. I'm not going to look for just prospects. Yusnel Diaz would be very interesting. It's not a bad offer from the Orioles. Boston offering Devers. That's an interesting one. Also a deal with Sam Travis, Luke Weaver. Devers from Boston, that'd be an interesting one. I mean, the argument of whether or not they need a catcher, though, right? But then again, we talked about this, and you guys said, screw it. Go for it. No restrictions. Who really cares if the trade makes sense for the other team? And for that reason, oh my God, the Yankees are offering Andujar. Well, right now the Yankees have my favorite trade. We have to take on Tyler Wade and Brett Gardner to do it. But, yeah, getting the star third baseman for this team for the next few seasons, that's not a bad way to go. Oh, Willie, 23A and a 70. That's an interesting one. The Rays are offering Jose Alvarado. We would have to bring back Mike Zunino, and we'd also have Ryan Yarbrough, so they want to clear some salary. But, yeah, needless to say, again, this is why we had that conversation. Yeah, let's just okay. Let's see what we have here overall. Baltimore, you're out of the running. I think even Boston with Devers, I mean, it's tough to say that deal is more enticing than getting Andujar from the Yankees. I don't think it is. Devers is 22A and a 74. Andujar is 24B and an 83. So the only argument there is that Devers' ceiling might be a little bit higher than Andujar's. That's it, right? You're only arguing for a slightly higher ceiling. The Rays, I mean, I would take Devers over Willie there. However, the more interesting offer, I mean, Jesus, Diego Castillo, Tyler Glasnow, and Brandon Lowe are both there. I mean, I think those two offers from the Rays are both just so goddamn enticing. Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays. Right. Sean Reed Foley as well. Ken Giles, Gurriel, McGuire. Man. What frickin' deal do we take here? This is outrageous. Okay, now you're just being foolish. All right. Well, I mean, I like the Andujar option. I like the Alvarado option, certainly. And needless to say, Yarbrough and Zunino could be immediately moved. The Bo Bichette option is very interesting, but there is clearly only one move right now that makes sense. And without those restrictions and limitations, although in fairness, frickin' the Shane Bieber option is also extremely interesting. I mean, we already have some decent outfield prospects. Getting the ace for this rotation and Shane Bieber. I mean, right now we're looking like I need top-notch A-grade prospects, or we're not even talking anymore. And for the Angels, it's not there. Joey Gallo, he's 25. He's going to want a big money contract, though. Joey Gallo is an interesting one, though. I mean, I'd probably go for Jimenez instead, but Gallo is a very interesting one. Sean Newcomb, we'd have a better option with Bieber. Sixto Sanchez, of course, would be interesting, but we already have a better option. Trey Turner and Kyle America, but we'll pass on that. Brandon Nimmo, I'm good. And again, some of these other deals, I'd prefer the first option that they send. It's typically the more intriguing one to me. Kingery, again, yeah, like right there, they're just looking to dump a bunch of salary. Rhys Hoskins, good old Rhys Hoskins. A little bit too old, I think, for some of the other options that we have. So, yeah, it's just a matter of what ridiculous player do we want more than anything. There's some Baders available, Michael Chavis, Kyle Freeland, Jock Peterson, Miea. Okay, it comes down, I would say, to Eloy Jimenez or Shane Bieber. And it's just whether or not I didn't mean to take that. I meant to hit view offer, if that was even an option. I was going to say, it's a matter of whether I want a dominant outfield prospect to go alongside Kelenic, because we're probably going to trade Mitch Haniger, or whether or not we wanted a dominant starter for this rotation. Had I been able to take a look, probably would have gone with Shane Bieber. That said, we still have other pieces to move, including Mitch Haniger, so the outfield for the future is more than likely going to be Smith, Kelenic if he develops, and Jimenez. But for now, it can be Santana, Jimenez, and Smith, which is still relatively outrageous. So I probably would have gone with Shane Bieber. Didn't mean to hit that button in particular. At the end of the day, though, we just traded what, in my opinion, is a bunch of garbage for Eloy Jimenez, and I can't really be all that upset about it. I can't really be all that upset about it. He's hitting .246 this season, a 3.11 on base. He is locked up until 2024 at $4.1 million. I mean, again, this is why I asked you guys what limitations there should be, if any. You said none. This is the result, and that's just trade number one. As far as any other catchers are concerned, I highly doubt pairing Tom Murphy with anybody is going to result in us having any form of trade value, but you never know. Edwin Encarnacion is the next guy to go. He absolutely is. I'm going to pair him with Daniel Vogelbach, and then Evan White is an interesting one where we could look to move him if we wanted to. There's a good chance we're going to move on from D. Gordon, and then between these three, only one is going to stay, and I don't know who that's going to be. And from there, you know, we could keep Tim Beckham or try to sell high. He's not the guy to pair into this deal. There's just way too much money that Edwin's making, so it wouldn't make any sense. However, Kyle Lewis is now very much expendable. So let's see. I'm sure it's going to be very limited options, but let's see what's available for Mr. Encarnacion. We have Rick Porcello, Sam Travis, obviously nothing there that I'm interested in from the Red Sox. Chapman from the Yankees, but he's 31 years old. He doesn't fit within the time window for us. Garcia and Charlie Morton, obviously decent players, but they're not a fit. Teoscar Hernandez is in a way a fit, and we'd be sending Encarnacion back to Toronto, which would be very interesting. But we could pick up Hernandez and then obviously shuffle around the outfield plans just a little bit. Rodon and the White Sox already looking to trade Narvaez. Go figure. Salazar, Bobby Bradley. Bobby Bradley's an interesting one, but it's not quite there yet. Fernando Romero, right now, I think is my favorite. We'd have to take on Marwin Gonzalez's contract, but I could look to flip him. I think Romero right now might be the favorite. Otherwise, it's Hernandez. Andrew Heaney and Cody Allen, meh. Let's see. LeClaire is also going to be a bit of a meh option for me. Davinsky and Brantley, that's going to be a no. Mike, very Polish. He's 27 years old. It's not a bad option, though, at $5.4 million. That might be my favorite offer now from the Braves. Again, Hernandez, we already kind of have the outfield sorted. I think it's down to Romero or very Polish, and it's going to be very Polish because we wouldn't have to take on Marwin's contract. Pablo Lopez, Starlin Castro, and Lewis Brinson as well. But Brinson right now, both of those guys, I mean, Pablo Lopez could work. Brinson's someone I'd want to flip. So right now, Atlanta's offer is still top-notch. Cespedes, absolutely not. Nobody there from Philly. Almora, again, the outfield's already kind of sorted, and I don't want to take on Hayward's contract. We have Puig, Chris Archer. I think we know the deal that we're taking here, and it's going to be from Atlanta. It's looking like that. Yep. All right. So there we go. I mean, it's a decent enough deal. We trade Edwin Encarnacion, Daniel Vogelbach, and Kyle Lewis to Atlanta for Mike Fultonmix. I've never been able to pronounce his name, and I'm not. So Mike Polish is the name. He's 27 years old and 87 overall. Again, whether or not he fits into the time window for us, getting back into a competitive nature, time will tell. But we're absolutely taking that deal, and for now, we have an ace moving forward. So now again, certain questions, whether or not I want to move on from Evan White. There is room to say he can develop. It's just, whether or not I'd want to get a more ideal first baseman down the road, probably, which means moving him now while his value's high because he's young isn't the worst idea in the world. I want to see if there's any way we can get something for Tom Murphy, so I'm going to put White into a trade. And then honestly, this could be where we move D. Gordon. This could be. Let's see what we could get here as we continue to just shed anything and everything away from this team. We get an offer for Rick Porcello, which is obviously a no. Zach Britton is obviously a no. I'd prefer to only take one player back for the sake of salary. Charlie Morton's a no. Aaron Sanchez, that's an interesting one. I'm going to say no to that. But it's an interesting one because he's not making that much money. Kipnis and Johnson. Again, here's George Valera, but you have to take Carlos Santana. Hell no. Not going to do it. Now, granted, we have the money, but still, there are smarter moves to be made here. Colin McHugh's 31. Hey, we could get back Edwin. Not going to happen. Kyle Barraclaw, Robinson Cano, absolutely not. Jake Arrieta. Quintana at 30. Hello. He's an outfielder, though, and he's terrible. I thought he was a 79, not a 69. Gio, Francisco Cervelli. Munoz is an interesting one, but to move Evan White alongside him, I don't think so. I think we might hold on to Evan White. Based off of what's available, I think we're going to hold on to Evan White. I'm still going to try to move Murphy. And we'll see what else is available. There's no way Lobaton has any value whatsoever, so we're going to hold on to Evan White for now. Still going to try to move on from D. Gordon. And then at third, we're going to pair Seager with one of the... All right, so we have to decide what third baseman, because we're going to pair D. Gordon with one of the third basemen and Seager with the other. So it's between Dylan Moore and Ryan Healy, first and foremost, and Dylan Moore wins. He's a year younger and the same overall, same potential. So we'll look to move on from Ryan Healy, I would say, and we'll give Dylan Moore the opportunity. Now, Moore is more of a fielding first option. In terms of the attributes, I like the attributes spread for Ryan Healy a little bit more, but there's a good chance I move on from Dylan Moore over Shed Long anyway, so I think Ryan Healy is gone, and we'll try to pair him in this deal, see what else we can get here. Hopefully there are a little bit better options. I do not want Rick Porcello, thank you very much. I do not want DJ LeMahieu, thank you very much. Mike Zunino, it'd be great to get him back, but no. Ken Giles, that's going to be a no from me. That's an interesting one. Carlos Rodon, that's an interesting one. I'm not necessarily against that. Oh, man. All right, well, the Blue Jays offers just got a little bit more interesting, right? Let's double check with the Yankees here. Chad Green and Urshula's just worthless, so it'd basically be just Chad Green, which would certainly improve the bullpen, but still. Kimbrel actually ended up signing with the Yankees. Zunino, and then for the Blue Jays here, Rowdy Talese. That's the interesting one. Grichuk could probably look to flip, and Caviglio is, or Caviglio, I guess. There's different ways to pronounce that, I'm sure. Basically, what I want Rowdy. That's the question right now. What I want Rowdy over Rodon. And I got to be honest, it's really close. Because we could then move the first baseman that we have but Rodon could be a decent starter for us. Let's see, Jordan Luplow, but he's an outfielder, so I'm not interested. Jorge Polanco at short, and we get Max Kepler, and we'll probably look to flip him. Polanco is a really interesting one. 25 years old, B in a 79. He's further ahead than Rowdy. I think I'd honestly prefer Polanco. It's just now between him and Rodon. Justin Anderson is a reliever, but I don't want to take Upton's contract. Not even close. Leody Taveras, who would have an ungodly resale value, but we'd have to take back Elvis Andrus, which is not going to happen. Is there anybody else here? Edwin, here's Kyle Muller, but take Markakis and Edwin Encarnacion. No, I'm good, thanks. Rosenthal, not really digging a lot of these moves at this point. Newton, but here, take Robinson Cano. Obviously not going to happen. And Jonathan India. Jonathan India. Interesting. 22A and a 66. I think I like that. Cincy with a very intriguing offer. Peralta, Davis, Ferguson. You got to take back Ryu. Absolutely not. Okay, so it's down to the Reds' offer of Jonathan India at third. It's 22A and a 66. Or we take back a Jorge Polanco, a Rodon, or a Rowdy Tellez, who again, the downside to Tellez is we had to take on Grichuk and we'd have to try to flip him. Rodon, we'd end up with Manaya, who is at least a usable option for us right now to bolster up the bullpen. Polanco, I'm going to say no because we'd have to take Kepler. So it's either do I want Rodon or do I want the prospect from the Reds? And I got to be honest. Boy. I mean, at third, we would have a better option than who we already have there in terms of prospects with Shed. And then we'd be able to move Shed. But getting... You know what? Yeah, that's too good to pass up. We're going to take Jonathan India from the Reds for Tom Murphy, Ryan Healy, and D. Gordon. So we free up quite a bit of money and pick up an A-grade prospect. Which means Kyle Seager's on the move. But I'm thinking now Dylan Moore and Shed Long are all expendable because we have Jonathan India. So he is going to be the guy that we look to use here in the future. So all three of these guys just became expendable. Again, it was probably going to be between Moore and Long, but now that's not even a question. So let's see what's available if we can move Kyle Seager's contract, his outrageous contract. And it's certainly not going to happen with the Red Sox there. Not looking to take back that much money. The Yankees looking to move Luke Voit and Brett Gardner. Absolutely not. Devin Travis, Brito, and Shoemaker. Not really feeling that. Unfortunately here the value is going to be a little bit lower because of Seager. But there's still a chance that we find somebody half decent. I'm more so looking at the money involved here because I don't want to take back too much even though we can afford it. Obviously, Springer and Reddick would be Josh Reddick would be extremely helpful, but is there anybody who's just outright like, hey, here's a good prospect, take him, that would be cool. That's not a terrible deal in terms of taking back Ben Zobrist for the rest of the year, but getting Brendan Davis, that's not the worst option I've ever seen. Unfortunately here, though, the value is looking a little bit rough. This trade might not be the worst. We get Ashcraft, who could be a decent prospect. We keep Cervelli for however long, and then we try to flip Eric Gonzalez. That's not the worst option I've seen from the Pirates. Not at all. Because otherwise here the value is just a bit too low because of Seager. That's not bad. Similar situation there, where it's like, hey, you get Arias, but you have to take Ian Kinsler pretty much until he retires. You know, I don't hate that offer from the Padres. I also don't hate that offer from the Pirates, because at least we get Cervelli, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's the catcher sorted for now. It's just, do I want Ashcraft 19B and a 61? I mean, it's the same thing. I'm actually going to take that offer from the Pirates. We'll try to flip Eric Gonzalez. But at the very least, we get a decent starting pitching prospect. He's going to need a bit of time. But I'll take it. I mean, it's about the best that we're going to be looking to pick up there. And, of course, we shed a decent amount of salary and Mr. Long. So, there we go. We'll take that deal with the Pirates as well as we just continue to tear down this roster. I'm actually going to see if we can immediately flip for Francisco Cervelli. He has 1 year left on this deal. So, if we can't, then whatever. He's just here for the rest of the year. It's not a big deal. Evan White we're going to hold on to for now because we don't have a better alternative. Third, we're fine at short. We'll try to flip Eric Gonzalez. Obviously, we have Marte. We'll keep Tim Beckham for the rest of the year. I mean, we might as well. He's had such a good season. Actually, with him having such a good season, I wonder if there's any value in trying to flip him. So we shall see as we are in full-on silly season here because of those lack of restrictions like you guys mentioned. So that's kind of what a lot of franchise modes turn into without restrictions. It's just like, all right, let's just sit here and flip players and see what happens. A couple of decent options there. I wish there weren't two outfielders in that deal. Carlos Santana, Valero would be nice, but no. Akil Baddoo, but we have to take on Crone and Kepler. If it wasn't Kepler, I'd be fine with that. Taylor Ward, Jackson, we'd have to take on Lucroy. So basically, we'd just be... That's not a bad deal, actually. We'd just be flipping Cervelli. That's not a bad deal. And we pick up Jeremiah Jackson at short. So the offer from the Angels is actually relatively interesting. And then Granite isn't worth it at all. Nothing really there from the Astros. Nothing really there from the Braves. Not really interested in taking Encarnacion back now that we managed to offload that outrageous salary. Lagares, Nito... But we get Newton. 19B and a 61. Jackson's a little bit further ahead, and I don't hate that offer as much. So we'll stick with the Angels on that particular option. Sosa, Nunez, and Williams. That's just a decent offer from the Cardinals because we don't get to take much money back. And we can just immediately flip a couple of those guys. Pavin Smith is an interesting one. We'd have to take on Eduardo Escobar. But I gotta be honest, man, there should be some resale value there. I mean, keeping Robinson and Pavin Smith, but then flipping Escobar. I think we have a winner. Yeah, we have a winner. I'll take that deal from the Diamondbacks. And we'll just let silly season continue. Why the hell not? So for catchers, I mean, we're pretty much good to go. First base-wise, I mean, we now have our choice between White and Smith, but I think we can hold on to both of them for now and just see kind of what happens. Second base, we're fine. Third base, of course, we have India. Now it's short. We still have Marte. And then as far as the outfield is concerned, again, it's going to be Santana, Jimenez, and Smith. Kelenic as a prospect. Robinson as a prospect. I think it's the right idea to move on from Mitch, unfortunately. But it's just kind of the way to go. I'm going to try like hell to move Jay Bruce's contract as well. So it's like, hey, if you want Mitch Haniger, guess what? You're going to take Jay Bruce. And we have Julio Rodriguez there as well. Did the game sign him for me, or was he on the roster by default? The game might have signed him for me. I do wonder how much the AI could have potentially messed certain things up. I'm actually going to put Pavin Smith into this deal as well, just to try and bolster it up a little bit more, because Evan White's a bit further ahead in his development. Is there a deal to be done here that makes sense? The Red Sox are like, hey, yeah, take on a shitload of salary. No, I'm good, thank you. Oh, boy, James McCann and Daniel Palka. That's not the worst deal in the world from the White Sox, but it's another outfield prospect. That's an interesting offer from the Twins. I'd try to flip Andreoli and Marwin Gonzalez, though. But that's not the worst trade in the world I've ever seen from the Twins. AJ Reed's absolutely not worth it. Now, I know I can say just for prospects, but obviously it's more likely we'll get deals here if I'm willing to take back some current salary. Carter Kieboom, have to take on Taylor and Adams. Meh. Certainly not taking on Robinson Cano. Dylan Cousins, not the hockey player, but not interested regardless. Max Muncy again. You know, I think the best offer there was the Twins deal. Now, the question is just how much are we getting back from Mitch Haniger, obviously, right? And we're kind of reducing the value that we get back for the sake of moving Jay Bruce, which we're not desperate to do. So we'll actually take Jay Bruce out of that, and that should bump up the value just a little bit, and indeed it does. So obviously we're not desperate to get rid of Jay Bruce. Richie Martin and Ryan Mountcastle, 2A prospects. I mean, Mountcastle's a bit of a question mark as to whether or not he ever develops. Florial, we don't really need another outfield prospect. Arroyo and Jonathan Davis, Rodon, Torres, and McCann, Luplow. So far, that first offer is the best one, no doubt about it. Good old Frank Schwindel, hell of a name. Miguel Sano and Nick Gordon. That's actually not that bad. Sano and Gordon. Gordon's a bit of a fringe player to potentially ever develop. I mean, Martin and Mountcastle, 2 A's, or we take Sano and Gordon. I mean, it's got to be that first offer. Jahmai Jones. Now, of course, I'm not I'm not exactly blinded by like, oh, A potential, got to take it, but it obviously makes sense. Alfaro and Brinson, Keyboom, but we got to take on Kurt Suzuki. 21A and a 65. How does he compare? 24A and a 73. Although, I do want to point out here, Mountcastle's on a better pace than Pavin Smith. That Orioles offer, I think, is going to be too good to turn down. I think it's just going to be too good. Amaya. That's an interesting one, though. A superstar catcher can be a little bit difficult to come by, and Miguel Amaya could be just that. The Cubs may have found a way to outduel Baltimore on this one. Julio Ramos as well. So it's either Richie Martin and Ryan Mountcastle, 2 A's. Now Martin's 24, Mountcastle's 22, and still has a lot of development to go. Or I think we got to take Amaya. I think we have to. So we move Mitch Haniger for a hopeful superstar catcher down the road. And we also pick up Brendan Davis in exchange for Pavin Smith, who's even better. So, at least in terms of his age potential and overall where he is right now. Not that we need another outfielder. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take Miguel Amaya off of the Cubs' hands. And I think, hopefully, we're closing in here. So Amaya's a top prospect as well. And he's got a decent base to him. I think that was a decent little move there. So again, Evan White, we're going to keep at first base right now because he's the best prospect we have. He's the only prospect that we have there. We have Jonathan India as well. Shortstop, we're still good. And then the outfield, again, I think we're pretty much good to go. Although you could argue that Robinson and Davis could be moved now while they have high value. So, I mean, obviously we'll keep that Jay Bruce contract because it's going to drag down the value, and obviously we can afford to eat that contract for now. But I think if we go Santana, Jimenez, and Smith, we have Kelenic as the prospect for the future. Depending on what we could get with Robinson and Davis, it might not be the worst idea to move on from them to try and get either an elite first base prospect, an actual second base prospect, or potentially pitching help. So we'll keep that in mind. As far as pitching is concerned, by the way, as well, Elias isn't going to have that much value, but if we pair him with these two, well, what are we looking at? Because again, an actual second base prospect would be pretty damn nice. It's just whether or not that's actually going to be available to us. Of course, we could go on the hunt. Devin Travis, he's 28 though. Rowdy would be a pretty nice pickup, but not digging it. Again, for the most part, we're just going to sit here and look at the first offers because the other ones always typically involve more salary, except for that one. No second baseman that I'm interested in, unfortunately. Akil Badu and Jake Cave. Oh, Rengifo, I guess that would be. We'd have to take on Justin Bohr, which isn't the worst idea. Encarnacion, JT Riddle, Dozier, and Robinson Cano obviously don't help. D. Gordon there. Dylan Moore and Cole Tucker. Alright, so Elias isn't going to help that deal. And again, I don't think he's really going to have much value himself at this point. We're probably stuck with him, which is fine. In terms of pitching prospects, these two haven't been that bad. We have just a bundle of these guys, though. Swarzak isn't going to have that much value. Gerber's looking pretty good. McKay is the perfect guy to try to move on from. Festa and Mills, I don't know if these guys are going to have any value, but it's worth double-checking for the hell of it. We might as well. Let's see, DJ Stewart. I'd like just the best individual prospect back that we could possibly get. And Nick Pratto is exactly what I have in mind from the Royals. So 20B and a 63. Can anybody beat that? 22B and a 63. If Diaz was a little bit younger, I'd be all over that because we need a second base prospect. But again, that's a role that we can fill later on. 23B and 23B and a 67. I guess that'd be Urseg, Lucas Urseg from the Brewers. All right, it comes down to either Pratto, 20B and a 63, or 23B and a... It's got to be Pratto. It's got to be Nick Pratto. I will gladly take that. That is Trade Finder Highway Robbery, and it's beautiful. I'll still keep Evan White for now. We can afford to keep 2 first base prospects, but although in saying that, it's obvious Nick Pratto is going to be better. I can't help it, man. When I know one prospect is likely to be better than the other, it's like, okay, if that's going to take the guy forever to develop anyway, you might as well just try to get back what you can for him. Not saying for sure that he's going to be traded. However, if we were to pair these 3 guys together, and I say I want a prospect, can this get me a good A-grade guy? Is A-grade guy is the question. And shockingly, not seeing as high a caliber of trades as I'd be hoping for, but there might be one. You never know. Victor Mesa. Not that we need an outfielder, though. In fairness, not as many high-end options as I was hoping for. So congratulations, fellas. You get to stay. We'll actually keep multiple prospects in the system. Imagine that. And again, as far as pitching is concerned, Elias isn't going to have really any value for us whatsoever on the trade markets. None of these guys really are. I mean, there are some decent players that could stay. There's no doubt about it. But I'm honestly going to see if these guys have any value whatsoever. There be potential. There might be some form of value there. Even trading them for that dude right there would be worth it for us. But let's see if there's anybody. Making that trade with the Yankees would absolutely be worth it. That trade with the Blue Jays, not so much. Forrest Wall, great name. Not a player we're looking to get. Knowles is an amazing prospect. Not that we need another outfielder, but he'd be the guy to get. That's the best offer right now from the Angels by far. And that is going to be the dude that we target. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So we get another pretty damn strong prospect. Gerber's going nowhere. We might as well see if there's any value for the likes of Elias, Bradford, and Strickland. We might as well try to find out. Why the hell not? If we can get anybody, again, even a prospect like that from the Orioles, it would be absolutely worth it. I'm looking for a B. There we go. Apostle would be perfect from the Rangers. B potential guy, a younger B potential guy. That is, again, an easy steal. We will take him. Thanks a lot, Texas, as we get rid of some relief help that's going to be of no help to us anytime soon. Art Warren, we will absolutely try to flip. How many players can I flip in this short amount of time? Just watch me. I'm going to try to move on from those 3 as well, but I'm going to see. I doubt there's a way to move Swarzak's contract, and it's probably not even worth it, but damn it, we're still going to try. There aren't that many teams interested either, which isn't surprising. There are only 2, so yeah, Swarzak's contract is immovable, which isn't shocking. Is there anybody else? Again, Gerber stays. I still think I want to try to move those 3, but we'll try to do it as a package deal. So when it comes to the pitching, I mean, we have three 27-year-old guys who are pretty damn solid. There's no way we're going to be able to move Leake's contract. There's no way we're going to be able to move Felix's contract. Wade LeBlanc has been great this season, so we might as well try to cash out. And hopefully that's possible. Although, it is unlikely. So yeah, Wade, you make too much money. Oh, Max, buddy, it's not gonna happen for you. I mean, you'd be a fifth guy at best for me, more than likely, by the time we're ready to actually be competitive. I'd rather try to move on from you now. Unfortunately, teams are getting a little bit wise to my tactics. I think it's because of that dude right there. So again, we're gonna look to keep everybody here. We're gonna look to keep those three pitchers. Leake, Hernandez, and even LeBlanc are pretty much immovable. We'll keep Justice Sheffield. Obviously, there's some promise there. Dunn is very much on the fringe of whether or not he's worth keeping. Say he has 5 or 6 years worth of development left. He's a middle guy in the rotation at best, and his value is probably worth moving now. It's probably worth making the most of it. But I'll add Tyler Danish to this trade. Great name, of course, but we'll see if there's a prospect to be had here, and most teams have caught on to me. I don't think we're going to be able to move too many more players, unfortunately. Let's add in good old Sam here and see if he's valuable enough for some teams to be able to add in prospects. I think teams have caught on to me. We might be done. The trade spree might have come to an end for now, which is saying something. But at the very least, even the guys that we have here that we could keep, we're still looking pretty good. And then, not to mention, we certainly have room to sign free agents, or at least whoever is left. So in terms of here, you know, we can set this up here. It'll be fine. So in terms of catchers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually fine. We could run a 7th if we want to. We'll go Lobaton and DeCarlo at the major league level. More than likely, I don't believe there is a half-decent prospect available. There is not. So I could technically sign a 7th guy. We don't really need it, though. First base-wise, any prospects remaining? The answer is no, but we currently have 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's try to bring in Ben Paulson for the rest of the season, because Lord knows we have the money to spend, right? So let's see if we can get you on 600K. Add a few years, absolutely not. All right, 2 years. We get the club option. There you go. What do you think? Oh my God, just accept it. Thank you. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go 1 or 2 more. We'll bring in. Who do we want to bring in at this point? Again, there weren't any prospects, and it's just going to be for the year. Let's try to bring in Colvin. I know he wants a little bit of time, but again, we'll just go with a club option and reject it once we have the chance. And Pedro Alvarez. Probably have to do the same thing for you, buddy, but guess what? We have the money to spend. So congratulations. First base is pretty much set, and we'll be playing White and Prado in the minors for the rest of the year. Second base, as far as that's concerned, we have 1, 2, 3 players. That is it. 3 whole players at second base. Currently, that prospect is no good. No good. I know George isn't good. I remember looking at him earlier. Mahan is no good. Weber's not going to help. So, yeah, we're pretty much good. However, the plan from earlier to sign Tetsuto Yamada is coming to fruition, and he's pretty much going to go straight to the majors, so I'm going to pay him a little bit as to not have morale drag him down. So Yamada is the new second baseman, as we had discussed previously. We'll probably sign 2 other guys. We might as well just try to go for the best. So let's see if we can bring in Brandon Phillips. He is going to be drastically overpaid, but we have the money, so it's fine. And Schimpf. Good old Schimpf. It's going to have to be a freaking club option, but that's fine. There we go. Third base, we have Escobar, who I completely forgot that we acquired. hold on. I don't think we're done flipping players just yet. This is going to be a very long episode, but that's okay. People who watch what I do have come to, expect that, and it's fine. I think I'm going to try to move on from Evan White if I can. And then in terms of relievers, I'm going to throw on Art Warren to this deal, and we shall see what is possible, if anything. And right now, the answer is a whole hell of a lot of nothing. Although I am going to go back because that offer from Toronto wasn't too bad. Get Hernandez, but got to take on Pedroia. No, thank you. Even though we have all the money in the world to do that, it's just the prospect isn't good enough to make that worth it. That was the offer from the Blue Jays that was interesting. And right now, that is my favorite one. We get a couple of B prospects. The question is there something better? And there is. Because we have that deal from Moya from the Twins, which would be great. But we got to take on Darren O'Day. I'm fine with that. I think Minnesota just won that little sweepstakes there. They absolutely did. So we're going to flip Eduardo Escobar to the Twins for Gabriel Moya, who could turn out to be a half-decent prospect. We're going to flip Evan White as well. But again, we have Prado and Art Warren's 26. So that pretty much speaks for itself, that particular deal. So first base-wise, again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could sign one other guy, and I will, because damn it, Adrian Gonzalez deserves more money. Second baseman, again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Third base, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we gotta sign somebody for the major league level, unless there is a prospect, and there is not. So congratulations to Matt Dominguez. It's son of a bitch. We're going to have a club option, but that's okay. And we'll pay Matt Dominguez, so congratulations. Shortstop-wise, we have 1, 2, 3 guys signed, but there is an A-grade prospect here who is free game for us, so we'll sign him up. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I'm pretty sure I accidentally, by signing him there, just immediately added him to the 40-man, and I did. And that's a mistake I keep making. But it is 4. Yes, it was 5. I can't count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. We have 4 guys signed. Was there another prospect? There is not. So we'll make it 5 with Ibar. And we'll make it 6 with Sanchez, actually. There we go. Shortstop-wise, we're good. As far as the outfield is concerned, I mean, the main thing here is to look for prospects first and foremost, as if we don't have enough outfield prospects after the wheeling and dealing to begin with. Lord knows that we do. And I think Ward is half decent, if I'm not mistaken. He is not. I was, in fact, mistaken. Cespedes. Yeah, that's an obvious signing. Of course, we gave teams time. Kyler Murray, if we don't sign him, someone else is going to. So damn it, we're taking him. Dominguez is also amazing. Our outfield prospect depth is going to be so unfairly disgusting. But, that's why we talked about this. All right, and then as far as other outfielders go, I do want to sign Ubayashi. That's another thing that we had previously discussed as a possibility. We do have a full roster, which is fine. Please don't tell me I just signed all of those center fielders and immediately put them on the 40-man. Ooh, that's a rough mistake. I think they get signed to the 40-man automatically anyway, don't they? Unless they have them on double or a fucking single A. That's a brutal mistake, but you know what? That'll be the way to counterbalance it. At the very least, we can have that justification. It's like, well, sure, you're able to sign all of them, but they're on the 40-man, so it's going to be more difficult for you. We'll say it that way. But then again, Ubayashi gets signed and immediately put on the 40-man anyway, which again is something that we talked about before. As mentioned, breathe. William Sutton's not that good. Aparicio's not that good. Stowers is okay. We're going to cut Fraley to be able to sign him. Laura is also half decent. There is an ungodly amount of outfield prospect depth on the free agent list to start. It is simply ridiculous. So I would imagine, as far as the outfield is concerned, that we're pretty much good to go. I'm actually going to go into roster management to double check this. My God. We're going to end up flipping more people. We're going to end up flipping more people. We're going to have to. We just have way too many goddamn people. I don't know how the hell we're going to set that up. But there's a chance that I end up signing some other half-decent players if I want to. But then again, the MLB level outfield is already set, so I don't have to sign anybody else. So I will fix that part at least off screen. And then as far as the pitching options go, of course we could sign some people to make the team a little bit better now, which is a bit counterproductive. But then again, it's not as if we're going to be good from this point on. Anyway, this roster has been successfully demolished by pretty much every stretch of the imagination, with the exception of the fact that we brought on some pretty good starting pitching talent who will be around, I would imagine, for a decent amount of time. I don't think we have any prospects there. And then starting pitching prospects, do we have anybody who would like to consider themselves half decent? We don't. So there is a chance. I mean, starting pitching-wise, we're pretty much fine. I mean, yeah, we don't have room to sign anybody there. Reliever-wise, like, we could bring on AJ Ramos. We'll do that if we have to. I'm going to make a quick little jump cut here. I'm going to set up the roster to show you what it looks like, and then we'll be able to end this episode. All right, so the good thing is, for the most part, we do have this roster figured out. The big issue right now is that, of course, we have an ungodly amount of outfielders, and ideally, either we'd be cutting some people or trading them away. The first thing we're actually going to do is let go of Eric Young Jr. for the rest of the season, because ideally we're going to bring on one more catcher who will hopefully not be immediately added to the 40-man. It's actually not going to be Evan Gattis. Let me find a younger player here, like De La Cruz, who will be cheap as chips. Thank God. I have picked up too many expressions from British people I have watched on the YouTubes. But I think it's going to be Lobaton and Odom, because that was completely accidental. It'll be Amaya and De La Cruz. In AAA. AA will be DeCarlo and Nola, and then Cal Raleigh will be down in Single A, just to help that out. And then again, for the most part, the roster is looking fine. We really haven't had too much of an issue with the 40-man affecting the team overall, I would say. The good thing is, of course, we still have an ungodly amount of prospects to move on from. And for the most part, we can actually keep this roster the same for the rest of the year if we care to. And then, of course, we can just let go of some of those outfielders. But pitching-wise, this is what we're going to be looking at here. And I actually want to base it off of morale. So we have an 83 there. Polish is actually only an 82, which is shocking. An 81, Mike Leake at a 78, and then King Felix, of course, at a 76. So Wade LeBlanc will be the odd man out. He's also a 76. Actually, in fairness, Wade LeBlanc needs to be there. It's going to be Mike Leake that we move towards long-term relief. And because he's been... we'll actually leave him over Felix because he's been a little bit better. The funny thing is that starting rotation is actually pretty damn good in terms of their numbers for this season. And in terms of who the closer's going to be for the rest of the way, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. It might be Swarzak just based off of the clutch rating. And it probably will be. Brennan's at a 64. I think it's going to be Swarzak as the closer and Altavia as the setup man. So the bullpen, it's still okay. There are a couple of guys, mainly Brennan, we'll call him Sammy T, and Altavia, that I'd like to move on from because they have a little bit of value left, but for the most part, it's not really worth it for me to make those changes. And then the lineup, I mean, it's still looking pretty damn good. I mean, Smith at center, Eric Ibar is going to slot in at short, which isn't ideal, but whatever. Santana in left, Jay Bruce in right, Jimenez at DH, Paulson at first, Yamada at second, Dominguez at third. So we've done relatively well, but we still have, pieces on this team right now with Yamada, Jimenez, Santana, and Smith that are going to be a part of this team moving forward. We have all the money in the goddamn world right now to spend coming up on free agency, not to mention so much money's coming off the books. Felix, I mean, maybe. I mean, we're going to have to hold on to Leak and Bruce for another 2 years. Swarzak's deal's up. Obviously, we're going to have to sign some guys who will cost a decent bit of money, but we are in one hell of a positive spot because of all of these moves. And like I mentioned, there are some players where it would be nice to still potentially flip them. But the way I view it right now, we have a pretty damn good catching prospect, a pretty damn good first base prospect. Second base, we do need a prospect moving forward, but for now, Yamada can fill the role. He'll be useful for the next few seasons. At third, I mean, Jonathan India's there. Apostle's also there, so you could talk about moving one of them over to second base if needed. Shortstop, we have a couple of decent guys, though, with Sanchez, Marte, and Poisson. So it's looking pretty damn good as far as the infield is concerned. The outfield is obviously just stacked, and in terms of fixing that roster, actually, let's move down. I don't know who we want to move down here. Let's move down, let's move down this dude to AA. And we think we just signed that dude, so we'll move him down to single. Actually, in fairness, we do got to bump up a couple of guys to AA. It will be this dude, actually, as a matter of fact. And then outfield-wise, let's bump up this dude because he's not all that important to the team moving forward. Same with Jimenez. The one downside that we have, and the one thing that I might fix off camera here, or off screen, or we could just fix it now. Screw it. Filia, you need to go. Jimenez needs to go. If there are any other kind of messy guys, Tito Polo, I love your name, but you're gone. We need to bring in some relief pitching. That's where the minor league teams are really struggling right now. Thompson Williams can't be dropped. Gareth Morgan can be. We're going to go sign some relievers. And then this roster is set. And the next episode will be very sim heavy because we're just going to go through the rest of the season and pretty much be good to go from there. I mean, it's fairly straightforward. The next episode's going to be very off-season heavy. So let's just try to sign whoever the hell we can here. We'll bring in AJ Ramos for the hell of it. Adam Liberatore we'll look to bring in as well with yield club option. Try to save a little bit of money if we can. For the hell of it, I'm actually not sure how many more guys we can sign, but we will sign as many as we can to help fill out this roster. Randall Delgado. Of course, you're just going to be dropped after the season anyway. So yeah, we were definitely lacking in terms of relievers that needed to be done. And then Carter Capps, we have a full roster. Beautiful. So for the most part, we are good to go. We made an ungodly amount of trades, which was to be expected. These are all of the names involved in the moves that we made. The big thing to note, though, Jimenez, Mike Polish, Jonathan India, Braxton Ashcraft, Robinson, Pavin Smith. I mean, Jesus. We did a lot of wheeling and dealing, a lot of flipping. If there are any moves that come to mind that would make sense to do, we will do that before the next, or before the trade deadline at the beginning of the next episode. Like I mentioned, there are certain names where it'd be cool. I mean, I kind of want to try to move on from Felix, right? Maybe send him to a team that has a chance to win this year. But in terms of value, holy shit, we could actually get a half-decent shortstop. Well, do I send... Oh, God. And we could get a half-decent catcher just to take on David Phelps. Yeah, we might not be done. Let me know what you think. Should I move Felix Hernandez to get a half decent set of prospects? My God, do I really want to dive back into potentially trying to flip people? Do I really want to do that? I don't think I do. But you know what? If I do end up doing this, we will recap it. I mean, why would I not take that deal for Jose Lobaton? Any moves I make off screen, I will recap for you because this episode has been way too goddamn long. Hell, I might even split it up into 2 parts. I don't know. Probably not. It'll just be a long episode, but you should have expected it. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed. If it took you 3 sit-downs to watch this, then damn it, you're a trooper. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Leave a like on the video. Otherwise, physical violence, like every other YouTuber says. Goodbye.